Good
Yes.
afternoon.
Ba, 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 ba. It needed the sound effect because, yes, we should have started 15, 20 minutes ago. But thank you for holding on. Thank you for holding on, ladies and gents. We have been tinkering in the background to make sure that everything's coming through okay. So thanks for joining. It is Fresh Friday, and we have another guest to talk about. Well, this week it's all about brand, isn't it, Liam?
It is, and I think I said this earlier on a little bit of a teaser post. This is the most strategical person I've ever met that we're about
The
to
most
see. The
strategic.
most strategical person I've ever met. So we've had brand God, and now we've got God of Strats. So
God of God of Strats.
strategy
Well,
God.
we have got some questions in now. I know a lot of people have been excited about Andy joining us, and we have too. For the ladies and gents who have never joined us on Fresh Friday before, let's do a bit of housekeeping before we jump in. So this is a weekly show. It is episode 9, as we announced earlier, of 10. So this is the penultimate episode, and we're doing these. I suppose we are going to do a season 2. So the secret's out. We will do a season 2. But after the end of season 1, obviously we'll be taking feedback and suggestions and kind of developing this further. But it's episode 9. We've come a long way, and each week we tend to bring someone from the world of brand marketing or digital media. And we kind of want to put the world to rights and discuss thought-provoking ideas for your benefit. So Liam, what is your involvement for the good people who are watching who might be wondering what happens when you kind of disappear?
Most of the time that I'll be spending in this stream will be all about you guys. So I'll be in chat, I'll be taking questions, and I'll be forwarding them on to Gaz and Andy. So if you see me as Fresh Movement, that's me. Put them in. I'll get your questions out. And yeah, I'm gonna shut up and let everything carry on because we've had some little bit of issues, but we've now fixed it, so it should be groovy.
You always fix the tech. I've got to admit, Liam. So well done there. So guys, yeah, like Liam said, get involved in chat. Whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Twitter, whether you're on Twitch or Facebook, we can see the chat already coming in. So Ryan, welcome to the stream. ABG Consultants, welcome to the stream. This Design Life, great question, and we will confirm that very shortly. So yeah, on with the stream.
Right, here's the special effect for you.
Oh, here we go. So this week on Fresh Friday, we have the delightful Mr. Andy Starr. Andy is the co-founder and of Level C and a brand strategist. And we have known him, I suppose, as a mentor, but also as a colleague, as we joined him up on the last Level C here in the UK. But he is here with us. Ladies and gents, give it up for Mr. Andy Starr. There we go. There we
Hey,
go.
fellas.
Andy, how is it going? How is it going?
I mean, you know, it's another summer blurs day in Texas. We're on the tail end of a brutal heat wave. And we've been dealing with tech issues for the last 15 minutes. So, I know that one of your things on your stream is all about what are we drinking. So I'm just going to jump right ahead of you. I'm double fisting my Stumptown cold
What?
brew. And look, I was going to pour, I'm a brown guy all year round. So I was going to pour a fingernail, but that doesn't work. I was
Go
going
for
to
it,
do
Andy.
my 52 ounce. I was going to do my 52 ounce hand barrel, but you know what? That doesn't even
Jeez.
work. So you
What
know
is
what?
that? I've
Fuck
never
it.
even seen one of them.
Friday. Cheers, guys.
Chin chin. Oh, this is going to be a good one. Mm.
Oh, way better. How's everything going?
Way better. And I can tell, well, one of the first things we're going to say is, have you got that Friday feeling? And I think I'll give it 2 minutes and then I'll ask you again because I think it'll just about peak around about then.
Just
But
about.
just about. So, Andy, thank you so much for joining us, first of all. Obviously, well, it's obvious to us, but not everybody who's watching. We have met previously. We have been students, as we referred to earlier, graduates now of Level C.
Boom.
That is usually kept in a very high security location, but I've unpinned it for today.
Or as an
But for the
emergency
guys,
coaster.
see, this is definitely not. I respect that certificate, and it goes in a very special place. Now, for the people who are watching, could you help dispel the myth? Who is Andy Starr? What do you do? And what is it that you're doing at level C? Because I'm sure people are itching to find out.
So it's funny because the people who know me uh, would say that I'm actually a pretty quiet and private guy. I don't like to be on camera. I don't like talking into a microphone. I hate the sound of my voice. I don't like the spotlight. I like to be kind of in the back. Um, but I'm glad to have this chance to introduce myself to folks who obviously know and follow the big guy, Marty, but who may have along the way tried stalking me online, figuring out literally who the fuck is this guy? I know that there's several people probably watching and listening right now who should stop rolling their eyes and laughing out loud. They know who they are. But for those out there who don't know exactly who I am Andy Starr. I am the managing partner and co-founder and owner of Level C. And my partner and co-founder is the brand master, the guy, the god, Marty Neumeier. And if you don't know who he is, well, there's nothing I can do for you. There's just no hope. Go do something else.
It is one of them.
So
like
if you
don't know Marty, learn about him.
If you don't know
Andy,
Marty, pick up a book, Google him, just get him on your radar.
Yeah. I mean, we have made no, I suppose, secret that we are big Marty fans. We actually had him on, and he was so gracious in his time and his knowledge, sharing it with us. And obviously today we wanted to bridge the gap because people out there have heard about Level C. They know about Marty, and we thought what a great opportunity it is to get the other half of the relationship from Level C on. And to be honest, Andy, we're really looking forward to this because I know when we've met, there's one of the great things that you do as part of the Level C branding masterclass where you kind of split the room. And am I right in saying, now my memory is a little bit faded, and I thank the whiskey for that, but am I right in saying that Marty would be more of the creative side and you would join the more strategical side when it comes to brand and I suppose direction really in life?
For sure. Marty's background is in design, and I think that Marty is naturally very strategic, and we'll be getting to what strategy actually really means in a few minutes. But yeah, I mean, from 80,000 feet, Marty is on the creative side, and if you remember. For those of you out there who are listening who don't know exactly what we're talking about, in the first level masterclass, we do this this exercise built around personality types, and it's kind of an abridged version, a very abridged version of the Myers-Briggs test, and it's not for a deep dive into psychological dynamics and personality labels. It's really not the purpose of the exercise. It's to make this broader point about creatives, the creative side of what this business is and what we all do, and the strategic side. And so we split the room, and every class has been the same in that it's heavily creative with a small group of kind of self-identified strategists. And yes, Marty absolutely is more heavily on the creative side, and I am more naturally on the strategic side. And the really cool thing is that creates even our dynamic, my dynamic with Marty, is reflective of this kind of like well-rounded thing, right? He brings the creative, power to the table, and I bring some
Yeah.
strategic power that, I think he would, acknowledge he doesn't have. And that's what makes us a really good natural team. And that's what we try to emphasize to all the students, that look, wherever you are, if you're, in-house, if you're agency side, if you're creative, if you're strategic, here's what that team dynamic actually could be. And here's why it matters. And here's how to think about and understand it, and, make an argument in favor of it if it's not there, if the dynamic on your side is strained, if you're strategic and you think you hate working with creatives, or if you're creative and if you think you can't stand working with strategists, here's a different way, a more valuable way to think about it. So
Yeah.
um you know that's what that's all about.
It is, and obviously, for the guys who are watching, Liam and I did attend and graduated. That's what the certificate I was hogging around before. It is such a valuable thing. Like, Liam and I are very different. We both have different skill sets, and on that course that we attended, which was the Level C masterclass, like, it I wouldn't say it became apparent how different we were, but what that course allowed us to do is see that kind of crossover bit. That is the main thing that I really took from it. Not only from me and Liam, I mean, we know each other quite well. It was really good to see the mix of people, like, from
Mm-hmm.
executives, CEOs, designers, all sorts of different backgrounds. Everybody flexing that different muscle, and everybody flexing either the creative arm or the strategic arm, and bringing it all together. It's such a good thing to see, and essentially more of that should happen, shouldn't it? Like, more of that should happen out there in the business world.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons that Marty and I kind of came together, and we've been able to focus on proselytizing that. Basically, that's really what we care about. There needs to be, we think, and we hope we're doing this in a way that doesn't come off as too self-righteous. But for sure, we think that there can be and is a better way to think about the approach to the work, let alone
Mm.
uh, uh, the work itself, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And that is what that first level masterclass is all about. It basically sets out to first uh, 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 define things properly. Like I think you guys and everyone else in our space would admit it. There's a lot of bullshit jargon that gets thrown around. I'm guilty of it too. Everyone is, but when you work with someone like Marty, he really helps kind of clear the air and get rid of as much bullshit as possible. And part of that is just being clear about what things actually mean,
Yeah.
and part of that is being clear about what things don't mean. Um, and then the other part of the masterclass is really about laying out the foundation of the method itself, right? The discipline to the work.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we're going to take everyone into the topic of today, which is strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a really good description of what you guys are trying to achieve at level C. So if anybody is uncertain of what that is, go and check it out. Go and have a look. It's a fantastic course, and it's what brought us together, and it is what why we know each other, and it's what has helped, in all honesty, build Fresh Movement. As a result of us going on that masterclass, it gave us more belief in our own thoughts, like. It also helped us separate the bullshit from the true. And that is so powerful, because there is a lot of brand bullshit out there. There is a lot of marketing bullshit
Mm-hmm.
out there. And to hear it from, yourself and mart it and make real sense of it, it was like that seal of approval that a lot of people look for. So yeah, it's great work. So just to make it crystal clear, and obviously let's not dive into this. For you, how do you define brand first of all, and then we'll talk about what brand strategy is? I think that'd be really useful.
Okay, so not to cop out or anything. My definition of brand has been what it's been since I read Marty's seminal book, The Brand Gap. 11 plus years ago. A brand is a person's gut feeling about your business, your product, your service. It's their perception, right? And look, like I said, when I read that way back when, it changed my perspective. It changed my life. I am, drunk on the Kool-Aid, fully buy into it. And that's what it is. Very, very simply, it's nothing that I or any of us can say it is. It's what the people say it is.
Yeah, and that's it. I think we're the same. We share that exact same philosophy. It can't be said any simpler. Mm-hmm. It can't be said any more eloquently. So let's consider that. So if that is what a brand is, what is brand strategy then? Like, how do you define what a brand strategy does and what it is?
So first, I think it's super, super critical to be very clear about what brand is. We just talked about that, and what strategy is first. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of quote unquote brand strategists out there make. If you can't be clear about what strategy means at its purest, most fundamental form, then like, who gives a shit about brand strategy, right?
Yeah.
So we define strategy very simply as a plan to outmaneuver competitors and conditions in your space. Okay? If you want to boil it down to a word, and by the way, if you hear kids, dogs, lightning, thunder, I'm in the middle of the zoo here.
It's Texas.
God bless. So if you boil strategy down to a word, it's outmaneuvering. That's what it is. So let's put that together. Brand strategy is an evolving plan for your brand to outmaneuver the competition and conditions in your market. That is brand strategy.
Fresh bomb number one, ladies and gents, from Mr. Andy Starr. Put so well, and it makes perfect sense. I think we often speak to a lot of brands, and when put like that, it makes perfect sense, right? Everybody wants to outmaneuver the competition. Everybody wants to be different. Everybody wants to be well known. What I want to ask you, Andy, and it is quite a difficult question, granted, but why is it then so difficult for CEOs, executives, people in power to kind of see the logic behind this? Because I think there is definitely some kind of, I don't know whereabouts in the C-suite it hits, but there is somewhere where they can see the logic, but people can't take the action to do it. Why do you think that is? Do you think there's a disconnect somehow, or what's your opinion on that?
I have a lot of strong opinions about that. And Marty, I think Marty said, I am a very opinionated guy. Yeah. Okay. So this is, thank God, and welcome everyone to Andy's therapy session on a Friday morning.
Welcome, ladies and gents.
So one of the reasons is because when it comes to action or tactics, if you will, are meaningless, super risky, can be super expensive, and can be a complete waste of time, resources, and effort without that underlying or overarching, however you want to frame it, strategy, right? tactics without strategy, fuck it. Why would you do that? Look, and by the way, that's different than the occasional reasonable need to be reactive. Sometimes you just have to react. You have to be decisive. You have to just kind of act first, apologize later, right? But you can actually still have a guiding plan, if you will, in place to at the very least refer back to, right? But I think one of the problems, one of the reasons why leaders across categories at different levels and different roles with different kinds of backgrounds and talents miss the mark on that is because it takes I'm trying to think of how to say this. It takes sometimes it just takes time, right? Time has become more of a luxury. People don't want to invest in the time it takes to actually craft and implement, evangelize, and gain or drive alignment on a sound strategy. They don't have the talent in place. They don't have people around them who understand what strategy is. They don't understand how to design a strategy. They don't understand how to implement strategy. They don't understand how to manage strategy. And they don't have people who are able to, I'm going to use a buzzword, pivot, right? Or even just blow it up and move in a different direction, right? So that's one of the things that we're hoping to try and solve even just a little bit for, as we move through the Level C program, is to simplify, right? And Marty, he's all about simplicity and focus. And that's another thing. People overcomplicate things. They overthink things. And look, that's kind of one of the Achilles heels, if you will, of strategy. Is there can be a tendency or a risk of overthinking, right? No one wants to be responsible or take accountability for missing something or for creating a strategy that's light here, and there are going to be eyes and there are going to be expectations that strategy will be completely comprehensive and cover everything, right? So but look, we as people find ourselves in this radically changed world, right? Business finds itself in this radically changed world. Nothing is going to be as it was. One of the things that business, like people, has found is there's this continued fragility, right? Businesses have found like they have vulnerabilities that maybe they didn't even expect, and as they try to address them on the business side and the brand side, because remember, one of the things that we teach and that we believe in is that brand and business are different things, but they're connected. If you remember the DNA double helix, they complement each other and are connected to each other at certain points and in certain ways. But there's the business lens, there's the brand lens, right? And both are going to require strategy going forward to survive, to grow, to scale more than ever before. And one of the main reasons for that is, like we were saying before, the era of bullshit is dead. The consumer,
really is.
the people have no tolerance for bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So one of the and historically, one of the reasons why managers and businesses and even the agencies that serve them have been so focused on tactics, right? Content's a tactic. Okay, is first of all, it doesn't require as much thought as strategy, and let's be super honest about that. Easier to manage, easier to point to, right? Strategy is less tangible, right? I could hold up a brief and say, here's your strategy, and I can give it to you. I can email it to you. I can
It's
post
so
it
true.
online and say, there's your strategy. It's tangible. That's worth $100,000, right? But all these tactics over here, a website, collateral, just content has a tangibility that's much easier to rationalize and justify, mark up, bill for, and pay for, right? So, it's not that strategists have this kind of uphill struggle, right? It's different. It's apples and oranges. So, and look, if you consider yourself to be and have been operating as a brand strategist, if that's been your jam, it's harder to kind of carve a path professionally as opposed to being a creative, a designer, a maker, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that strategy, and brand strategy more specifically, is just the most valuable, fundamental, and important function in this whole thing.
It's so true. We, as Fresh Movement, were seen as content creators, and that's what people see. That's not what we do, and we are always in that predicament where if you put strategy on a PO list and you say, hey, client, yeah, you can buy this content, but you also have to buy this. It's such a difficult thing to land because they're like, well, you're just slapping X amount on top of what you're going to do. And it's like, well, we can only do what we're going to do if it makes sense for you and your brand. And that requires thought. Like, it's not just paying an influencer and getting someone to turn on a camera. That is just, that's offloading the job. It's not about, just creating a few sound bites and videos that go across social media. It's about enhancing your brand presence. And it is such a difficult thing. And I fully agree. That is the most important part. We often talk about this internally as well. And it is one of them untangibles. But without it, we are becoming, I mean, we spoke to Mitch Ducker last week, who wrote Brand Monotony and all around that. We're just becoming copycats. Like everyone, it's so easy to look at the competition's Instagram and going, they're posting that, I'm going to post that. Let's get somebody who posts this stuff. And it's crazy. It's a mental world we live in. And
well,
the things that Martin level see it. Yeah, go
on. No, I mean, think about this. First of all, I agree with you 100%. We've become copycats, and I think one of the reasons is not laziness, but kind of like a fuck it mentality, right?
Yeah.
Because and I think that this is another really important distinction between strategy and tactics, right? Tactics can be copied. You can copy strategy, but not really, right? You can imitate it, but I think that there's a difference. Okay. But tactics, you can copy, and but the thing about tactics is you compete on tactics. You don't have to compete on strategy, right? And so if you just think from 80,000 feet, if you understand and you believe that strategy is the art of outmaneuvering, I would argue that you can reduce, maybe not eliminate, but you can significantly reduce competition right at the top with a solid strategy. Then you figure out the tactics based on that strategy that can't be copied, that would be almost impossible to imitate, replicate, spin, bullshit, whatever. That makes it more likely that your tactics will not be able to be copied. And how much more likely does it make it that you'll accomplish your goal of strategy, which is to outmaneuver, right? I won't say it's not hard, but it doesn't have to be as complicated. So if you're out there, if you're listening, if you're watching and you're thinking to yourself, fuck yeah, like, we're all a copycat. Am I a copycat? You can solve that right at the top by focusing on solid strategy first, not after. Not saying we can make all this stuff. We're content producers. We have, a fully loaded A to Z studio. So literally we can make anything we want. So we'll just make stuff and then we'll build a strategy based on what we can make. I get it. If I were that type of business owner with those type of resources and that type of background, who's to say I wouldn't think the same thing? But I'm not. I have the luxury that I'm not. So, and here's one other thing to think about, right? Strategy and creativity are both arts of problem solving. Okay? You're trying to change an existing situation to a preferred one. You're trying to move from a current state to a stronger, better, whatever you want to call it, state, right? And one of the things that we're going to be talking about in our second level class is the idea that strategy is a form of design and that all strategists are designers, right? And going back to your earlier question, one of the problems across both brand and business is that most managers don't think like designers. They're too busy managing and trying to improve things that are already in place, processes, teams, disciplines, ideologies. They're too busy managing those things to think about the future, to think about where they want to go, how they get there, obstacles that may pop up, obstacles that already exist, and how they outmaneuver to land in a preferred spot, a stronger spot, a better spot, right? Mm-hmm. And a brand strategist is the tip of that spear. They design the path forward, the maneuvers, right? How to maneuver. And the team around them, the creatives, the supporting strategists, the project managers, even working with their client or their team, wherever they're based, they play supporting roles in how everyone moves down that path.
Andy, good job I've got whiskey here because you're definitely working up my emotions here. Get another. Honestly, mate, thank you so much for getting that out there. There is so much truth in what you're saying. And if you're watching this on replay, if you're watching it live, you can't do what I'm about to suggest. Just rewind it a little bit and listen, really listen to what Andy's saying there, because there is so much value in what he's explaining. So whether you're thinking about getting into brand strategy, or whether you are an executive, somebody, marketing executive or CEO or entrepreneur, really focus on what he's saying there, because the biggest thing for me is not fixing it while you're doing stuff like that. That is such an important one for me personally. I always see this left, right, and center. Like, let's really think about what it is we're doing before we actually do it. And people are like, no, just get it out there. Let's test on the fly. And that works. Don't get me wrong. Testing works. But there is a certain level, and it doesn't take that long. Just try and nail on first why it is you're doing it, and what are the feelings that you want to conjure up as a result. and then everything else just falls into place. It really does. Everything else is easy
For
then.
sure.
You know, the tactics, the measures, whatever you're going to do, all fall in line from that moment. I'm conscious of time, Andy, and I hate to say it because I've got so many more things I want to run through. Before we wrap up, if there's anybody thinking about becoming a brand strategist, do you have any simple takeaways that they can do? Obviously, they can sign up to Level C. That would be my recommendation. So I'll save you from saying that. Go and check out Level C.
Thank
What
you so
kind of
much, because
things?
I hate selling.
What's actually happening before we shoot? Actually, what are you guys running? Level C, level 1 again, masterclass level 2. Is that still going ahead?
Yeah. So the broad view of what we're doing is we're going to be running the first level masterclass 1 online in a couple of weeks. We're going to see how it goes. Between the demand and current events, if you will, we had to bump up our schedule to do that. We always had intention to do level C online, at least the first 1 or 2 levels, but we had very specific thoughts and ideas of how we wanted to do that. So we're not going to be able to do it exactly the way we want it, but we think we have a way to deliver the content in full, create the collaborative experience that you and so many others have had live in a room, as best we can online. If you and Liam and others out there know of or have been participating in the Meta Skills challenge that we launched a couple of months ago, it's going to be kind of equal parts that in terms of the live collaboration among the students, and then presenting the exact same content. There won't be any compromises. Nothing will be trimmed out. It will be literally the exact same content. It will just be a different format and dynamic. So we're going to be doing that, starting that next month. We're going to be doing, and we'll be announcing this formally next week with dates and details. But we're going to be doing more level 1s online through the fall. And I can tell you now that rather than make people wait for the live version of Masterclass 2, because I just don't think that it's practical to expect anyone able to travel come the fall. Unfortunately, we're going to do level 2 online in the fall, either late October or early November. We're going to announce the dates next week. So if you're out there, if you've signed up for level 2, you can use your credit, your ticket for that online version. If you haven't, if you really want to take brand strategy with us, sign up for level 1 now or next week when we announce the new dates, and you'll automatically be able to register for level 2 online in the fall. You won't have to wait.
And I wholeheartedly recommend it. Like, it's not about should you do it, it's when should you do it. And I advise get your ticket quick, because obviously it does sell out. The honor of spending time with you and other creatives and Marty on top, it's just amazing. It is literally an amazing course, and we can't recommend it enough. So if it doesn't matter your background either. That's the great thing. There was such a mixture of people, and that's what makes the course so great.
And the second level class, is going to be crazy. It's going to be so intense. I mean, if you loved level 1, I mean, like I love level 1, but I'm so excited for level 2. It's going to be super intense. It's going to be bananas. So I know that we're super sensitive on time. I have 2 things I wanted to throw out there. Okay.
Yeah. No, I was going to move on to that.
It's back to you. So the first is, we've been running this Meta Skills challenge. It's been a 5-module challenge. All of the teams have just been crushing it from one module to next. The work, the thinking, the quality has just been going up and up and up. And everyone finished this past week the 4th module. There's one left, and Marty and our masters panel have had a bitch of a time this week reviewing the work and trying to figure out like who was the best in this module. And this was the toughest one yet. I promised everyone I would announce who took the best in module 4 on your show.
Yes.
The best in mod for mod 4, we almost had like a 5-way tie again. But we promised we would narrow it down. It was crazy. Team Meta Shot, which is actually, it's become a one-man band. Chris Lateral, Metashot has been focused on the IKEA brand since the start of the Meta Skills Challenge, and they went a big challenge, and Chris just crushed it. But every team, honestly, it was so difficult. We actually entertained the idea of not having a best in mod, but such is the world. So mod 4 goes to Metashot and Chris Lateral. Well done, brilliant. Mod 5 will start this weekend, and it's still up for grabs. Anyone can take it, but everyone has just done an amazing job. We're so impressed. All the judges, all the members of the Masters panel are super impressed. And then here's one more thing, and those of you out there who really know me, you know I'm a big tease. I'm going to tease you here. We have a special piece of content that's going to be coming out either at the end of August or the very beginning of September after Labor Day. Back in 1985, September 1985, Steve Jobs left Apple. Famously, everyone knows the story. Just a few months before Steve left Apple, a young Silicon Valley designer named Marty Neumeier interviewed Steve Jobs and Apple's new CEO at the time, John Scully, and several other key Apple people as part of a profile that he was writing for a magazine called Communication Arts. Okay, he's talked about it. He's told stories about it. It was his first interaction with Steve and Apple. He interviewed Steve Jobs for over an hour. Now, I've begged Marty to tear his house apart trying to find the tape recordings, because can you imagine what those would sound like? The tapes lost. The tapes are lost.
Yeah.
A copy of the article, we've been asking for a long time. No one's been able to provide a copy of it. But I recently got my hands on a copy. It's fucking bananas. It's insane. 35 years later, to read direct quotes from Steve, from John Scully, from others at Apple about where the Apple brand was as of mid 1985, it would make you, just like it made me, just like shake. That's how crazy it was. We're going to give that article, that content, that substance, a proper epilogue. I'm going to be interviewing Marty in a way that I like to think and hope no one has interviewed him before. And I'm going to try to dig into him on all things, not just, Apple and that article, but all things brand. And in the same way that he dug into Steve Jobs and Apple back in 1985. And we're going to release both the 1985 article in its original format and this 35 years later 2020 epilogue together by the end of the summer. It's not long now. We Marty has agreed to kind of let me at him. It's crazy. One of the craziest things about it is if you pull certain quotes from the article, real quotes that Marty captured in the room with these guys, if you string some of these quotes together naturally, organically, they paint this one sentence narrative that doesn't just capture the power and magic of the Apple brand, but of brand as a fundamental concept. And I'm not going to say anything beyond that. I'm going to wait until we re-release the article and the epilogue, and all of you will be able to read it for yourselves. It's crazy. So just stay tuned, be patient. We're pulling it all together. We're going to release it out. We can't wait for you to see it.
Holy shit, Andy! This is amazing. Like, I had to take a shot of whiskey. I had to take a shot of whiskey.
It's so cool. It's the article is so cool. Like, and you think about, like, if you've met Marty in person, if you've watched any of his videos, even online, and you know kind of his voice and his style of speaking, and just if you can try, when you're reading this article, you can almost picture Marty's personality on one side of the room, Steve Jobs' personality on the other side of the room, and those two personalities are just talking about brand, about design, about the Apple logo, and Marty's told this story before. But when you read it, it's crazy. It's crazy. So we can't wait for everyone to see that.
Yeah. That is a fresh Friday bomb, ladies and gents. If you've never heard one before, Andy Starr said he was going to cause a ruckus, and he delivered. I honestly, I can't say anything else. I am blown away. First of all, as a Marty fan, as a Apple fan, as a now Andy Starr fan. Thank you so much, Andy, for sharing that. And you heard it here first. Look out for that stuff. We are going to have to call it, and we're going to call it on that, like mic drop. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, Andy, what is the most frictionless way of them doing that? How can they get involved with you and Level C?
Andy@levelc.org.
And we will put that in the comments as well to make it easy. Andy, we do have to dash. Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure. Would you join us again? Because there is about half of the conversation that I still want to continue with. Like, would you be willing to join us maybe on season 2?
For sure. I would love it.
Yes. That was an easy one. Thank you so much, Andy. We do plan on meeting you guys in Ireland as well. We've got that in our calendar. So we should be doing something face-to-face coming soon. That's an announcement for everyone at Fresh Movement. So look out for that as part of season 2. Thank you so much, everybody who has tuned in. Remember, if you want more content like this, be sure to follow us, set that notification in YouTube, and share it out, because sharing is caring. That's what we always say on this show. And we will love you and leave you. Thank you very much. Enjoy your Friday night and keep it fresh.